It's Monkey Island meets Rambo in codename Hell Squad on Amigos, episode 358. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about codename Hell Squad.
Oh, good God. It may be the best named game we've ever played, Bode. I love it.
Aaron, did you ever have a code name?
I did. Well, I mean, do you mean like on the BBSs I had
No,
aliases?
I'm talking about like this has to be like either something your friends called you when you were playing like Spy or when you had a fort or something.
You mean like Jack Black?
Or whatever name you used on the old CB.
Well, I never used the CB my whole life.
Oh.
So I mean, my dad had one. So I guess I didn't have a code name. Now think about it. I never. My friends all call me names that I don't want to say on here, but they weren't what I would call code name. They were jerks. You know. Did you have a code name?
You know, I always wanted one. I was thinking about something cool like Winger.
Ooh, like Kip Winger. Remember him?
Yeah.
He's
or
not
like
cool.
the band.
You don't have the
Winger.
hair to pull off a Kip Winger. You know what I'm saying? Because he's got that beautiful long hair he used to anyway. If I was gonna come up with my own like cool code name, I want something like Shuriken Bill or something. It's gotta be a weapon and then a generic name. You know?
You know,
How about I
read
Glaive Dave. That's what I want to be.
I once read this humorous article about how to sing the blues.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is you have to come up your jazz or your blues name is the first part is a physical ailment.
Yeah.
The second part is a fruit, and the third part is a dead president. So you got to have something like lame mango Jefferson.
I was thinking blind lemon Kennedy.
There you go. You're a blues singer.
I like it. And I'm going to remember that. That sounds like a good way to generate D&D names, but.
All right, Aaron. Well, you know, it's been a busy week in the week of Amiga news. So what do you say we dive right in and talk about what's been going on, man?
Dive in, brother.
Amiga news.
Of course, Aaron, the news of the week is that we managed to survive the event that was Boatfest.
Yes, we did.
We made it back in one piece. Everybody that came out made it back home safe. We're going to do a separate show, just kind of summing up Boatfest. So be on the lookout for that. We're not really going to talk about it on Amigos. But it does lead us on to our other big summer event. Amigathon, Aaron, is coming up in 1 month from today. One month from today.
That's scary close, but
you know, Amigathon this year, we're going to kind of, you know, I kind of felt like you and I both felt we really pushed things as far as we could last year in terms of involving, you know, the huge stars of YouTube, Amiga Bill and Ash Said Hi, and plus the TSI, all those guys.
Yeah.
Black, and so what we're doing is we're bringing it all back home with Amigathon 2022. This is going to be an old school 12 hours of solid Amiga action with you, me, and the Brent. Aaron, tell us how it's going to go down.
You know, I will say, and Bo can attest, last year, I like these long gaming events. Now, there's a limit, as we hit the wall a few years ago, but I do like to sit down and play long events. I just enjoy it. It's fun for me. And if you can raise a few bucks, all the better. And you can even ask Boat last year. I was like, man, this is great, but I sure missed those long events. And so this year, the build up to Boat Fest, I mean, it was all encompassing, all hands on deck. It was total devotion to the gig. And so me and Boat, because Boat's a planning machine, but my God, the guy's not made of stone. He's got to take a break. I said, listen, why don't we just do an old school Amigathon this year where we play games, have a good time, and raise money? I said, you know, and Boat agreed with this. I mean, this year, we're doing Amigathon this year under circumstances where stuff's more expensive. It's tougher times, you know. I was like, you know, I don't want people to think every year that they got to give more and more. Let's just, like, people can give what they can. Let's take it down a few notches, have an old school Amigathon. That's what we're going to do. I'm looking forward to it, Boat. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to do it from a couple different venues, and I think it'll be a good time. And we're looking to raise some good money for our friends over at the Children's Miracle Network, Boat.
That's right. That's right. So you can head on over, new URL this year, head on over to bit.ly/Amigathon 2022. And you can donate. We already have a couple people right out of the gate throwing some bucks toward the Amigathon. So we appreciate all those fine folks.
Yes, thank you.
And but even if you're not able to give this year, like you said, times are tough. If you just want to turn out, we'll be streaming the whole event live, twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming.
That's right, Bud.
All right, Aaron. Coming up next, the old news story. Chris Edwards bought an Amiga 4000 for someone. Okay.
Wow. He bought it for someone?
I watched this today.
Okay, I haven't seen this one yet.
I'm all about watching Chris when he gets a new computer.
Yeah.
And what he did was he bought this for one of his patrons. Okay.
Oh, wow.
His patron is going to repay him, but it's one of those deals where I think Chris had an opportunity and he was like, does somebody want this? I don't know the story. Chris could fill us in on the Discord. But anyway, he ended up with this thing. His job is to fix it up and then pass it along, as it were. And so he's up to his normal great, sort of running commentary as he looks at the various things. And, you forget, the last time I saw an Amiga 4000 was in Ireland a couple years ago, and you forget what a beast these things are. These things are major league computers.
Yeah, I agree. And we had one that was heavy, and it was, don't get me wrong, it's funny, at the time I didn't appreciate it as much as I would now. But they're heavy computers, and they're these things are aging, and I'm sure Chris is probably going there and just doing the usual preventative steps it would take. I like the fact that he found an angle to get someone set up. Chris is a good guy. He does a lot of free repairs and stuff. I sure wish he could have made it down to both, as he's not too far from us. Hopefully next time he gets down here.
Hopefully next time. Yeah.
But good stuff. Hey, anytime someone wants to give me an Amiga 4000, look me up, brother.
All right, moving on up. Our next video is this is not that one, down a little bit. This is Duckstorma. This is a charming Amiga platformer that has come out. Now, this is a little bit misleading. Okay, because the ZX Spectrum and MSX versions of this game have been released, but I actually went on here because I was like, listen, charming Amiga platformer, sign me up, man.
Yeah, you love charming. You love that.
Yes. I went to this guy's itch page, and it turns out that only the Amiga, there's an Amiga version available, but it's just the demo, at least that I could find. Maybe I wasn't clicking in the right place. But I did give this thing a go. And I will say it's very charming. It's very Spectrum-like. It's if you wonder what a Spectrum game would look like with an Amiga coat of paint on it.
Yeah.
Even the sound in this game has that AY sound chip like sound. They managed to emulate that pretty well on the old Paula. And but it's a game where you play as a small duck. You jump on enemies to kill them in the classic platformer fashion, but then you also have an egg that you lay, and the egg explodes, and you use the egg to kind of catapult yourself over obstacles and things like that. So it's pretty cool, pretty unique game. Like I said, it's available on the ZX Spectrum and the MSX, in addition to the Amiga. I like it, man. I like it.
You were talking about its relationship to the ZX. You could see, even like the backgrounds, like the coloring of the bricks and stuff, you could tell that they had that in mind to a certain degree. This looks nice. This looks really good. I feel a game in our future, Boat, and it involves ducks.
Okay, Pixels of Dawn in the chat says the Amiga version is available. He bought it himself.
There you go.
So you can get the full version of this game. It is out, and like I said, it controlled well. It controlled well. I ran it on UAE. It did just fine.
Dude, we got to put this on the list. Good find there, Boat. Very good find, man. That's great.
All right, Aaron. Our next story comes to us from one of the biggest names in the Amiga YouTube scene, Mr. Wood, Dan Wood, who has come out with a video. This is just a couple days old.
Today,
called "Is AROS the Future of Amiga?" Talk about a headline. That's
Yeah.
what you want to name your YouTube video.
I know my
What Dan?
response to that. No. But maybe, heck, I don't know. Does Dan talk you into it, Boat?
Well, you kind of have to watch the video to get his take on it. I will say that this is not just your clickbaity headline. He really goes into the whole history of the Amiga's alternative operating systems, including OS 4.1, which we saw at the at Boatfest with
Yes.
Level Lord and his X5000. He also talks a little bit about Morphos, the Power PC
The evil
Mac
wizard.
Mini
Yeah.
based thing. And then he says, well, then there's also this thing called AROS, and AROS is what I think it's most famous for is sort of a Kickstart replacement that you can use to launch games if you don't have the official Kickstart disk. But it's also a fully fledged operating system that's essentially being developed by one person.
Oh man.
So this is, another example of, an operating system just like your Linux or your Windows or whatever. But it's another fork, if you will, of that classic Amiga operating system. Now, I will say that Dan ran into some problems doing some web browsing. He was not able to get YouTube to load properly or Google Docs. Those are pretty powerful websites. But the more simple websites he was able to get to work, as you can see, he's moving things around here on the desktop. Would you want to use this, in place of your Windows setup? Probably, you would probably be left wanting. But if you're the type of person that likes to tinker around with these operating systems and see, what the Amiga could have grown into if given the opportunity, this is probably something that you want to check out.
I will say I haven't watched this shit, but I love Dan's stuff. It's funny, Dan and Ravi. It's no wonder that their show is so successful because they're both great. They're great at producing videos. I just watched one where Ravi goes through the Vintage Computers East. I don't know if you saw that one. It was really interesting if you get a chance to catch that one. They both do good stuff. And Dan has been doing this thing recently where he looks at OSs. He did one on like Windows 98 or something. And I like his stuff. In terms of whether this is something you'd want to use on a daily basis, the fact that one guy is slaving away on this is mind-boggling. The fact that it's gotten as far as it has is impressive. Having looked at what we looked at Boatfest, that was really the first time I got to sit down and tool with something like that. You can see the appeal, and if you're into that sort of thing, you could get into it. I don't see this as a future of anything, but then again, you never know, man. Someone might get into it. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to check this out. I like what Dan does.
Yeah. All right, and that's going to do it for this week's Amiga News, Aaron.
Good stuff, Boat.
Now, before we move on to our game of the week, we should talk about the fine folks up north, RetroRewind.ca.
Absolutely.
Lots of people ask, what can Retro Rewind do for me? And I respond, what can't they do for you? Because they offer so many services that are so valuable to anybody who's into our hobby. And these things include, offering you diagnostic equipment so you can identify the problems with your machine, giving you a lot of repair parts, everything from cap kits to replacement coin cell batteries, lots of things like that. And then if you're not handy, they offer a repair service where they go in and they will fix your machine for you. And they will tell you what's wrong with it, and they'll get it so you can get back to using it. But that's not all. There's more to being into vintage computers than to just having a working machine. You got to be able to do stuff with it, right? So say you've got a Coco, say you just got a Coco 3 on eBay, and it's not working so good, so you send it up to Frank. Frank fixes it. He sends it back to you. He puts the old 6309 in it. That's what I had done to my Coco when we were up there at Boatfest. Frank was there. He slapped that bad boy in there for me. Well, you're going to want to run games on that guy, and the best way to do that is with the Coco SDC. The Coco SDC is the flash solution for the Tandy color computer, and you can put that up. Now, you might ask yourself, why are you talking about all this Coco stuff on an Amiga show? Nothing for that. I just started talking about it because I just saw it on the page. But everything that I said goes. It's the same thing with the Amiga. Trust me.
You know,
Check it out. RetroRewind.ca.
not to tip our hand on our Boat Fest flashback, but while we're talking about Frank, I will say this. This should put it in perspective. If you're a member of our Discord and we're at Boat Fest, it's more than likely that you brought something to have Frank look at, or you bought something from Frank. Almost everyone there did, and Frank fixed stuff continuously the entire time he was there, almost nonstop.
I should probably talk about the Amiga that I brought there to have him fix.
Yeah.
Instead of the Coco. So yeah, he totally fixed. He had to reflow my my Paula chip, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
So he did what was necessary.
And he fixed my Vectrix. He also had a bunch of stuff for sale. And I want to mention this amongst the thing. And Boat mentioned a lot of good stuff. But if you're an Amiga fan, listen, people are raving about the A630. The second revision's out. He can't keep these on the shelves, and that's a shoot, Boat, as you know. So if you're interested in getting this very ballyhooed accelerator for your Amiga 600, order it today. Now is the time. And Boat, they could get this thing at a big discount, can't they?
That's right. If you use promo code Amigos10 when you check out, you can save 10% off any order you make. So, I mean, 10%, that is not a small amount of money. So make sure that you head on over to RetroRewind.ca and look at what they've got. They've got stuff you like, I promise.
Right on, Boat.
All right, Aaron, let's dive into some codename Hell Squad.
Oh, man. Now, listen. I don't like to gush on a game, okay? And I'm not going to fully gush on this, but I will say this. When you fire this game up, it's number one. It's named Codename Hell Squad. There's a curse right in there, right?
That's right.
We've got to make this video.
This one's for the teens, Aaron.
That's right. Codename Hell Squad. That's an awesome
name.
name.
Remember when WWE started being able to curse a little bit?
Yeah.
And so they just get up there and they just say, they'd have a wrestler just stand up there and he'd go, ass, and everybody go crazy.
Now when this game starts, a lot of games come up and you get to an intro. This is an all-time great CDTV level intro here.
Yes.
It's ripe with crap. It's got kind of cheesy effects, stupid sound effects, horrible acting, nonsensical dialogue.
Now the CGI is good. The CGI is good.
The 1 second of CGI is quite good. This has live action video at the beginning of this. Complete with the guy's license plate, too. Yeah.
None of this postage stamp stuff. It's full screen FMV.
And then the opening scene of this is a dude and his chick. They go out in the woods. Now, this has got one of my all-time favorite lines in everything I've ever seen. They sit down to start making out in the woods. In the meantime, there's just like the vision, like if you're the predator, right? It keeps flashing up, and they sit down in the woods and it's time to start making out. And they're all into it. And the chick goes, wait a minute. She goes, I hear something. And the guy, completely deadpan, says, it's probably just a rat. And they just keep If I thought there was a large rat nearby, I would not continue the makeout session. I can tell you that.
You relocate that makeout session.
But the fact, that guy wanted to get into it. He's like, it's just a rat. Well, and then they get destroyed. They get killed, violently killed,
vaporized. And
then the next scene, there's a dude. Remember when me and Britt did that TI episode? And I wore that real tiny cowboy hat. This guy had a similar hat. This investigator. He looks like it
was the only hat they had on.
Look at we're watching this. You can't see it at home. He looks like the biggest geek, but he's confronted by two other geeks. So this is like Boat Fest right here. It's happening right in front of it.
Yeah.
And so this local investigators ran off by the FBI. And by the way, these FBI agents had quite an accent on them when they came in. And they fish around in what remains of the dead makeout couple and find a car key. And then the movie flashes to a guy putting on his military garb.
So
like Rambo.
let me fill you in on what happens here.
Yeah.
Okay. So the FBI contacts an elite team of fighters.
Yeah.
They call in whenever this sort of thing happens. So the docs lead you to believe that this is not Codename Hell Squad's first rodeo.
Yeah. Now, I looked into this. Let's just get back to the particulars before I can get. And by the way, I don't have a ton, but I've got a little. Okay. So, Codename Hell Squad was released in the year 2000. Okay, so a late release, needless to say.
Yes.
It was worked on much earlier than that, in the mid '90s, and it was originally to be called Hell Pigs. Hell Pigs is a much crappier title, by the way. And so the original publisher, this I believe, was called Vulcan. Live long and prosper.
Good name.
But they went out of business, and so it got picked up in the year 2000 by Digital Dreams Entertainment. Okay, they also published Wasted Dreams. Now I looked to see what the name of this game and Wasted Dreams are. They're like the same, some of the same people. The developer of this, I looked up and saw two different things. Some people said the developer was also Digital Dreams Entertainment. Some people said the developer was called Classica. So your mileage may vary. And this game apparently I think what happened was when the game got dropped, when Digital Entertainment picked them up, Digital Dreams Entertainment. I think that's when they made the video. I think they made those videos themselves and added them. Okay.
Okay.
I think, and then they got the game in a position of where you could actually play the game. Okay. So this game had, like I said, a kind of a wacky entrance into the Amiga. Now, according to Moby, and you can take this with a grain of salt. They say at the time this was the last commercial game released on the 500. So there you go. This is back
the
in the
last
day.
commercial game released on the Amiga 500.
Right. That's what Moby claims. I thought like I'm gonna.
What about the other Amigas?
I don't know.
Okay. It sounds like the person that wrote that didn't know what they were talking about.
Get this boat. So in '96, Classica, the developer, decided to deal with Vulcan to publish the game. Like I said. Then they were going to release this on CD and floppy. The floppy release of this was going to, and it didn't have the FMV, right? Was going to be 22 discs.
Oh yeah, I can totally believe it because this is a huge game.
They didn't release it on 20; they just released it on CD. But I do like the idea that they toyed with the thought of putting this out.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is interesting. If this was the last commercially released game on the Amiga 500. That it would be, one, a CD-ROM game, and two, if this is OCS ECS, then what are we doing with AGA? Because this looks, I mean, there's a billion colors in this.
This thing it basically ramps itself up depending on the computer you've got. So better machines with better memory get more jack. So let's get into the game proper. The concept, and I told Bo before the show, I'm going to try to pronounce these names. Concept and the producer and the musician, the sound effect guy, all the same guy. His name is Thomas C. Jovanovic, and he's also joined by Damir Petkovic. Okay, they're not from Hurricane, by the way. This was coded by Thomas C. Kijanovic. Okay. So some of these guys.
It's also worth noting that he did all the filming too.
Yeah, some of these guys worked on Wasted Dreams, but not all of them. Okay, now we covered Wasted Dreams. Gosh, was it about 2 months ago, Bo? Does that sound about right?
It's been pretty recently,
and it's very, very similar to this in terms of the way it interface, to a certain degree, the way the gameplay is, right? But they've taken it and went in a different direction here. And so let's get into the game proper. But you want to, since you were looked into the docs and whatnot, you want to jump in here and talk about what you're doing here?
So the story of this game doesn't make a lot of sense.
What?
There's an alien that stole a ship and took it to Earth and just started like having fun killing people. And I think it was an alien teenager or something like that. And so anyway,
is that in the manual?
Yeah. The story is weird
because I never heard any of that.
And then they call in Codename Hell Squad. Okay, Codename Hell Squad is for basically Rambo-esque mercenary type guys who are heavily armed and ready to quip one-liners at you.
Yes, they start right out of the gate and they don't stop. This
Yeah. This game is a action adventure hybrid in which you roam about an environment that is a pseudo 3D environment, and that you do have some depth in the environment, but it's very similar to a Lucasfilm or Sierra point and click adventure.
Yeah.
You have an inventory at the bottom of the screen. You see the health of your 4 squad members on the left. And then the entire rest of the screen is dedicated to you and your adventure.
Yeah.
What separates this from a Lucasfilm adventure is the fact that you have a submachine gun that you can go to town with at any time.
Yeah.
And so there's an action element in this game, in that there are aliens that have landed, and you have to take out the aliens. So that is what you are doing with your gun. Is they're aliens because they got green skin.
They look a lot
and,
like you, except green.
Whenever they show up, you just you shoot them with your gun until they die.
And they start shooting at you the second that the screen appears. You find that out pretty quick.
Now, what's funny is that the other people in this universe are not affected by the aliens. They're doing their job. You'll see him there. There's a plumber. He's working on some stuff. And the aliens are around, but they don't mess with him. They just know, hey, if it's Hell Squad, we got to destroy him.
The guy that runs the hardware store is another one. He's
right,
just sleeping.
Right.
You know, when this kicked up, of course, this game, I played this with a gamepad. You can also use the keyboard, but you have to use the keyboard for some stuff. But I played with a gamepad. And it's interesting the way you interface with the game. It actually is. We talked about this with Wasted Dreams. I like the interface because it tells you when there's something to look at on the screen. It tells you when there's something to interact with. It tells you it shows you what you got if you pick up something or interact with something, and it appears in your inventory at the bottom of the screen, which I like. If you want to actually go down to the inventory, hit the space bar, and you can flip through the inventory with your arrow keys, and then select what you want to select. I like the interface. I like the interface on the squad too. This is a unique. I mean, have you ever seen a game that was quite? I mean, listen, it makes no sense. When you play, you've got 4 different guys in the Hell Squad. These unnamed guys. All right, they all look the same. They're just 4 guys. You can go through them with your function keys. All right, that's what I did. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll switch to different guys.
That's how you do it. How you do it.
Which is fine. The weird thing is they have a shared inventory. For example, okay, I moved one of my Hell Squad guys early in the game into this alien lair, okay? And I was looking around there trying to figure out what to do. And there was a machine there, and what you're supposed to do is pour water on the machine out of a bottle, okay? I hadn't picked up the water, and I thought to myself, this is before I even knew about the switching. I thought to myself, what a huge mistake this is. I've got to go all the way back to the very first screen to get this water. Au contraire. You can literally switch to your other guy who was on that screen. He can go over, fill up the bottle. You can switch back to the first guy. Now you've got a full bottle of water. It's almost like cheating in a way.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Does it make sense? No.
No.
Okay, but was I happy that I didn't have to do any stupid inventory swapping? Oh, yes.
Yes, sir. So I was wondering how you're going to fall on that. So we're in agreement. Shared inventory, it's a good thing.
Every game needs it.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something else. I would want to have 4 independent inventories to deal with. Because if you have one guy that needs something, he could be across the map, you know?
Right.
And until you get to a certain point, you're not just going to be zipping all over this. It's a pretty big, it takes a while to get around in this game. Now, right out of the gate, you're going to notice that this game is irreverent with loads of cussing and loads of talking to, like, breaking the fourth wall. And I mean tons. The first thing I noticed is I ran across the screen to the end of the screen, and the guy started complaining. He goes, oh, yeah, I guess they want me to tell you there's a bunch of trees and stuff here. But no, it's just the border of the screen, these cheap guys. And then a big hammer bonks him. He's like, oh,
Looney Tunes like camera. Yeah.
He goes, oh, look at all these pretty trees. He changes his tune instantly, which I found funny. And the guy will talk to you all the time. In fact, sometimes if you do something particularly clever, he's like, good job. You figured it out. I knew you'd do it. You're smart. And it's like, oh, okay. It's kind of cool. But this game takes itself as non-seriously as you can physically take yourself. I mean, everything in it is stupid. I mean, every time you fight an alien, as you're shooting them, they just cuss continuously until they die. And your guy cusses too when he's shooting his gun, even
That's
if he
right.
doesn't
It's a
shoot
cuss
anything.
off.
What did you think about all this? I mean, this game isn't necessarily for adults. Okay, I guess it is now because of all that. But I mean, they could have not put that in here and still had the exact same game, couldn't they? I mean, honestly.
Listen, this
Plus,
game came out. This game came out in the year 2000. But say
yeah,
that it came out in like 1996 or
yeah,
1997.
yeah,
By this point in the game, the adventure, point and click adventure genre had been pretty well played out. Okay,
yeah.
so it's good to have something that differentiates you from the rest of the pack. Okay, I thought this was great. I am not a fan of the cussing. You know.
Yeah, you hate
Uh,
that.
but in a game like this, where it's so silly and so over the top that it just reminded me of some sort of like humorous action, like a Jackie Chan movie or something like that. This is a game that looks very, very pretty.
Yeah, it's a
The there's
beautiful
there
game. Yeah,
there's a wide variety of settings. The world is huge, and almost every scene has things that are animated.
yeah.
For example, in
A
the very
slight
first
thing.
scene, yeah, in the very first scene, you have these pods that you land in. Later on in the game, you've got to break one of them open. And so when you break one of them open, it actually shows like the glass shattering. In a normal adventure game, you might not get that level of animation.
Yeah,
This game is a weird. It almost the characters are modeled almost like they're like sort of digitized. It's like low res digitization, like
yeah.
a couple notches
It's
below
like a
Mortal
guy that came out
Kombat.
of Narc. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
here he comes. I agree with you,
Hmm.
and I will say where there is animation, I mean every scene has a tiny bit of animation. Maybe a street light's flickering, or a birds are flying or something. But when you actually do stuff to interact with the environment, like let's say you blow open a door or pry something open or something explodes. I mean, it's beautifully done. They do
Hmm.
it. I mean, the animation on what they do is real nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone took some time and had some good artistic. This is as beautiful a game of this style as you're going to find on the
Yes.
Amiga. It looks. I
I
mean, it
would
looks
go so
great.
I would go so far to say that this is the best looking adventure game I think on the system. I mean, if you take it from a clear, from a purely artistic perspective in terms of like the fidelity of the backgrounds,
Yeah.
the variety of the backgrounds, I don't think you're going to see something that looks better than this.
Well, one thing this had that I'm not going to fight you on that. This game to run this game, you had to have a minimum of 68,000 CPU, no problem. ECS or AGA, no problem. And you had to have a minimum of 3 megs, 2 meg chip and a meg of fast RAM. So that's still not super huge requirements to run the game. So if you think about an Amiga 500 with 3 megs of memory and a CD-ROM, that's not a huge difference from what we've seen before. But the graphic fidelity, like you said, is a marked improvement. So they took advantage of those lower specs to make this look nice. And like I said, the animation they provide is often very attractive, and they do this all the time while there's sound going on. They've got some pretty nice musical cues that come
Yeah.
up
So
as well.
this is a game where there's not sound all the time. There's not music all the time. But when it does come on, it's very tastefully done. It's
Yeah.
very cinematic is the word that I would
That's
use,
exact. You noticed this too. I
Mhm.
agree. I think that the music in this is. I mean, we talked about Lionheart last week. Lionheart has music on all the time, nice noble
Mhm.
music, and it ramps up occasionally. This game goes a different route, and the route they go for this game works. Because in a game like this, you don't necessarily want music playing all the time because there's other
Right.
stuff going on, and it also gives you more of an adventurous sense. If you're in a
Yeah.
cave or something, but when music kicks up at certain times, you're into something, or you've triggered something, you've done something.
And it's clear that the developers, because the music is cued by your location, it's clear that the developers they put a lot of thought into this. It's just like when you're putting music into a movie, you want to start it at the exact right time, and that's what they've done here. There are scenes where you have to hack into different sorts of terminals and things.
You've got to have certain discs. That's why I was going to mention that.
And there's fun, and again, there's sometimes funny things that you see in there.
Yeah.
Early on in the game, you go into a terminal, and at first you disable the shield, and you're like, awesome, I disabled the shield, and then it says, okay, click here to dismantle the gun. And then it says, enter your psychic password. And I was like, psychic password? What's the deal with this? And I picked up the steel rod, and I was like, I wonder if I can just bash this thing with the steel rod. And sure enough, you see the guy's bam, bam. He's like, guns are off.
One thing I like about in this game, the steel rod's like his favorite thing. I got to use it. I didn't get super far into the game, but I did get the rod. And if you watch, I'll watch later on in the game, and he uses that rod all the time, and he keeps coming back to talk about how great it is to have this rod. So it's funny that a steel rod gets so much use in this game. I mean, when you boil the game down as an adventure game, all right, because do you shoot in this game? Yes, okay, but I mean, don't kid yourself. This is not Doom or something. I mean, the shooting elements. If it was me, I wouldn't have put them in. I don't think, because I know a lot of people don't like to mix their genres on this. Okay, or I would have had some kind of option that just turn them off. Okay. I know why they're there, and there are certain parts of the game where the adventure parts and the shooting parts overlap. That what I'm saying, where you have to have certain items to get past certain elements of the game that require.
Yeah, for example, there's a very cool thing early on in the game where you have to fight this big robot flying drone thing, right? Whenever you go into the scene where this robot is, it starts shooting at you, and you can fire on it, but there's no way that you can possibly kill this thing before it kills you.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you have to do is you have to get a holographic construction kit, right? And you've got to set that up and put an ID card in it. And then when you set it up, there's a hologram of you that appears, Star Wars style, and it mirrors your movements. And the drone starts firing on that. And again, there was a lot of care that went into making that hologram sort of mirror your movements and all that stuff. And I thought, that was really the first time that I was like, man, this game is doing something special with this genre. Because, they could have easily phoned so much of this stuff in. The more games we talk about, the more I admire developers that just sort of go the extra mile. And do stuff that they don't have to do. And this game is full of that stuff.
We both like it. We both like the other game, the Wasted Dreams.
Wasted Dreams.
And it was for a similar reason. Because it's this game. I mean, listen, it's one of those games you're probably going to like it or you're not. Right? You're either going to humor is going to get you or it's not. The gameplay is going to hit you or it's not. But you're right. They went their own way. There's really the only other game like this is the other game. That's it. And both games are different than anything you're going to play. I like the simple, just like last time, I like the simple interface for the stuff. They added the squad thing. I like that. I like almost all that. Now, when you get to the adventure game proper, it's still got stuff in it that I couldn't figure out. It took me forever to figure out the water trick. And I
with the stones or picking up the water?
At the very beginning, where you had to pour water on that thing. It took me forever, and finally, believe it or not, I did figure that one out on my own before I had to start cheating.
This game has a very interesting. You're using a combination. The game is controlled by the joystick, but you have to have the keyboard on hand because you have to have the keyboard to use items. So, for example, when you pick up an item, it's selected. You see the name of the item underneath the screen. You can scroll through your inventory to select different items. You hit shift and you hit left and right. But then to actually use the item, not use it on something else, but actually use it in the environment, you have to go up to whatever you want to use it on and hit enter.
That took me a little while to figure out.
It's not the most intuitive thing. Same thing when you leave a scene. You don't just walk out of a scene and go into the next one.
Yeah.
You have to walk until you see an icon in the corner that shows a guy running. Stop and then hit that direction one more time.
Yeah.
I
But
think
once
they
you
did
figure
that.
it out, you're golden.
I think they did that to make sure you didn't accidentally leave a scene
Yeah.
while you're pixel hunting or whatever. But I mean, it's just little quirks like that. And once you figure them out, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's they're just little quirks.
I would go more than fine. I think that it's good. I like that stuff. I like the I like what they built in there to help you. Really, the only bad things I like this is a game that tries really hard to be funny. And it's one of the few games that's actually, I thought was pretty funny, if I'm honest. I can't tell you the number of times I chuckled. I thought there was some good, it's not every joke hits, but a lot of them do that are pretty funny.
Yeah, and this is stupid humor.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And then, I guess the only knocks against, like I said, I don't necessarily like to have the adventure and the action mixed, but I mean, it is different. I also, from looking at a playthrough of the game, it's not what I would call a super duper long game, but I mean, I don't think it's criminally short. And also, this is a playthrough where the guy knew what he was doing, so it's going to take you far longer than it took that guy.
Yeah, this is a game that will reward you in the time that and it's not. Here's the thing: there's one section at the end of the game that's your classic stupid maze sequence. We saw this in Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
it happens in a lot of adventure games, and it's completely unnecessary. They do it to pad the length of the game, and it's dumb. Okay, so you just got to know going in, if you're going to take on Codename Hell Squad, that there is one of those sequences where it's a maze. You're inside. It looks like you're inside the belly of the beast. It's one of those weird H.R. Geiger nightmare type things.
Yeah. But if you get
just
that
know
far,
that
you're
that's
in it
in
for
there.
the long haul, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if you've made it that far, you probably don't care. The ending of this game makes no sense.
It sucks. The ending is no good.
Yeah, it's horrible. So prepare yourself for that.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate because the rest of the game is just, I mean, it's beautiful to look at. Like you said, it's funny. I think none of the puzzles that I saw as I was watching a playthrough seemed to be ultra hard. It's such a shame they put all this time into it, and then when they got to the ending, it's almost like they didn't know what to do.
Something tells me that the ending of this was done by the same people that did the beginning. That was maybe something they kind of tacked on.
Just tacked on.
And so they were like, well, here you go. But that shouldn't deter anyone from giving this thing a whirl. I'll be honest with you. I thought this was going to be double garbage. I mean, I watched that opening. I was just like, this is... Ed Wood would have scoffed at this thing.
Well, I didn't know what to expect.
I didn't expect
I just
that.
fired it up without... Yeah.
It's worth the price of admission just for that. Because that's funny. But behind all that stupidity, you got something here, Bo. I was interested to see how this thing reviewed. Guess what? Not a lot of people reviewing the game from 2000. But it did get a lemon score of 7.13. I think that's pretty fair.
That seems low. That seems low to me.
Amiga Active gave this 3 out of 4 stars. Our buddies Obligement reviewed this in March 2001. They gave it a 75. And the people over at The Good Old Days gave this a 2 out of 6. Full burial on this.
Whoa, burial.
Did you get any sweet Discord action on this?
We did.
Oh.
We did. We got a review from our buddy Bumface Pooh Hands.
Of course.
He says, we often hear of 94, 95 being the late release years for the Amiga. But here's a game released in the year 2000, the same year the PS2 hit the shops. It's not hard to see why this is considered the last commercial release for the Amiga. Even those of us with souped-up Amigas with CD-ROM drives would unlikely to have picked this up back in the day, and speaking on their behalf, I don't regret this at all. This game can't tell if it wants to be Flashback or Monkey Island, and it borrows heavily from both. I think you even hear some sounds nicked straight from Flashback, and the grunts of your poor victims seem straight out of cannon fodder. But sadly, it really doesn't have any of the charm of any game in either genre it's trying to be. The puzzling is fairly basic and mainly hampered by an overcomplicated control system. This control system also means gaining any enjoyment from the combat is nigh on impossible as well. I feel like this game did have some potential. If you ignore the pointless intro, then graphically it's actually not bad, but again, not a patch on Monkey Island even 10 years its senior. Nearly 10 years its senior. Once I'd got past the controls, I did manage to eke some enjoyment out of exploring this alien planet. It is an alien planet, right? I couldn't make any sense of the story. But really, there's very little reason to play this when Monkey Island and Flashback already exist. Bumface Pooh Hands rating, bum.
You know,
He didn't like it.
I don't think this has anything to do with Monkey Island or Flashback. I knew someone was going to make those comparisons, and I don't get it because Monkey Island is a whole different type of game. By the way, I love the interface in this. I thought it was real good. Like I said, I'm surprised that he buried the graphics. I thought the graphics were top shelf. So clearly,
here's the thing. I think just like you said, some people really don't like it when people try and mix genres, because oftentimes when you mix genres, you don't do either one very well.
Yeah.
But I would rather see something unique.
Well, also the combat in this, I was like, oh, we don't need it, and you don't need it. But I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard.
No, and it is. Down. I mean, like the way, because it's controlled with the joystick. I mean, you're basically holding the button down and just sort of moving the control pad around until it locks onto an enemy.
For clarification, go ahead, Boat.
It wasn't necessary. You're right. The combat is completely unnecessary, but it does break up the usual monotony of just picking up items, talking to people, and using items on other things.
Yeah, and I will say this: don't be fooled. Because this has nothing to do with flashback type gameplay. This is a graphic adventure with an interesting joystick based interface. That's what you got here. You're not going to be. This is an action arcade time boat. Not at all. Is that the only one we got?
That's the only one we got.
Well, at least at least Bum had the common decency to give it a whirl, Boat.
I appreciate him getting in there, man.
By the way, who was it on Discord that turned us on to the HDF file? That was the lifesaver.
It was Pajako. Yeah, Pajako. Thank you, Pajako.
Because that made it easy money. I ran this on 2 different items, and it worked great on both of them. It worked. I played it on Amiga Forever and on the Mister, and it worked fine. You have any problems on the Mister at all? I'm sure that's where you played it. Yeah,
none. Worked perfect.
No eBay on this. So I'm going to assume, number one, that this was released somewhere, and number 2, that it's exceedingly rare, because I could not find any pricing on it at all, Boat. So overall, listen, give it a shot for yourself. If the humor, if it works for you, if the interface works for you, if you were at all in Wasted Dreams, I think you'll get a kick out of this. I think I like this more than Wasted Dreams. If I want,
me too.
The truth.
Me too. I think that this was an evolution of that kind of game, and I enjoyed this one more than Wasted Dreams, and I liked Wasted Dreams.
Who'd have thunk it, Boat? I wasn't sure where you were going to fall on this, my friend. So it's funny. I guess we were definitely outside the norm in this, because I heard a lot of people hating on it. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right, Aaron, it's time to leave Codename Hell Squad and dive into the old community updates. We do have one very important community update. One of our tried and true members of the Amigos community, Ed Van Hellen, has been down with the sickness this past couple of weeks. It's been a rough go of it for him, and so we just want to give him a shout out. Evan, we're thinking of you. We are glad you're recovering well, and we can't wait till you're back in the man cave, opening up a cold one.
Yeah, man, get back to making those suds, brother. We miss you, and we hope you feel better soon, man.
All right, Aaron, what's been going on our YouTube channel this week?
You may have heard, Boat, but we got a little bit crazy. We got a little bit wacky, and bam, it's live Amigos from Boat Fest. We just recorded it last week, and we just released it a couple of days ago. It came out late, so we get to talk about this one while we record the next one. If you haven't seen this yet, listen, if you want an Amigos with a different flavor, just watch me and Boat in front of a live crowd. Don't worry, we still screw up, make the same dumb mistake.
We still had to redo the beginning.
We still fight, and we get ridiculed. Also, I did learn that everyone in the crowd doesn't know anything about games. Because they came to the microphone and said the dumbest crap I'd ever heard, but it was still a lot of fun. Working live in front of a crowd. It's my first time, Boat. I know you've done it a couple times, but I never have gotten around to doing that. So that was kind of fun. We had a good time. Any thoughts on the old that you want to share?
Well, I'll tell you, if you are normally an audio consumer of Amigos, you might want to check out the video version of this one, just so you can see the BoatFest audience and members approaching the mic and delivering their hot takes on Lionheart. By the way, we talked about Lionheart, which is one of the classic Amigos titles. We come back to it time after time. It's one of the standard bearers of Aaron's Amiga catalog.
A handsome group we had there, Boat. If you look at that, look right here. There's a Mr. Cole who spewed lies at the microphone about Lionheart, but still appreciate him coming out. So, and I see a lot of our favorites in there. So we had a good time. We'll talk more about that on the on this upcoming show. But yeah, if you want to check that out, it's up. Lionheart live for Boat Fest. Speaking of live from Boat Fest, myself and the Brent decided to do something at Boat Fest, and so we kind of saw ARG Presents at Boat Fest. I called this episode the Wheel of Misfortune Boat because the Brent had this cunning plan to spin the wheel randomly and talk about random subjects. I'm still not 100% sure what we were doing, but by God, we did something, and we got some laughs.
You talked about random subjects.
Yeah, and every time I was getting ready to make an awesome, all-time awesome point, the Brit would cut me off like a jerk. So
the audience loved it. They loved it.
Well, I'm glad they did. So anyway, if you want to watch, this is another one, very, very unusual. ARG Presents. If you feel froggy, give this one a whirl. We had a good time in front of the live crowd. I had a real good time with that one, Boat. That's all we've got on the main channel. If you want to scoot over to the Amigos Stream Team channel, we have got two shows on here, both from the Boat Fest, and both are Jeopardy. Jeopardy Day 1 and Jeopardy Day 2. Boat, tell them what you cooked up here. This was quite brilliant, if I may say.
So this was literally, Boat Fest was on Friday, right? Friday and Saturday. On Wednesday night,
Thursday and Sunday, it just kept going.
On Wednesday, it was Wednesday morning. I was just, doing nothing online, and all of a sudden it came to me. Is there a platform online for Jeopardy? Because whenever I go to Ireland, I always host the great Amiga trivia contest, and of course, famously at Classic Gaming Expo in 2003, I won the Jeopardy competition there.
Which that's stunning. Was that about classic computing?
Yeah,
Probably
it's weird,
not about
right?
Amiga, right? Because
hardware. So anyway, I found this site called Jeopardy Labs, and I went ahead and paid for a license, and I made a round of Jeopardy, and it wasn't awful. And then I was like, boy, I need to buy a buzzer, so I went on Amazon and I bought these things. They look like Fisher Price toys.
Yes,
they're meant for the classroom, but they're the only thing I could find that was like them, and they actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah, they
worked out pretty well.
So
we had 4 contestants on day 1. The funniest part of it was probably when Flack got asked a question about himself.
Yeah,
that was
yes, and then ultimately went on to take it to the house. I might add. So I don't know.
Right. And then, of course, we had another day. Day 2 was filled with videos from Amigos fans from across the pond who submitted video questions, which were very good.
Yeah, that was great.
So,
it was a real good idea, Bo.
So if you want to check out some Boat Fest Jeopardy, both days are now available on the Amigos Stream Team.
That was fun. And what was not fun is when you came to me at the 11th hour and said, listen, I need a background for Jeopardy. I was like, huh? But it all worked out.
You did well.
And the amazing thing is, given our track record, it went without a hitch. Go figure. So, yeah, a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll bring that one back next year. I've already proposed another game to play next year. I'm dying to try that one out. So that should be fun. That is all we've got. I will say I will be doing a live stream Friday at 8:30 this week. I'm getting back into the game, Boat. So we're going to start stocking the Amiga Stream Team back up with goodies.
Awesome. All right. Well, Aaron, it is time to play everybody's favorite game, the Patreon Song Challenge.
Oh.
Now, of course, last week, everyone participated in the Patreon Song Challenge at Boat Fest.
Yeah.
As we all sang Country Roads to to all of the patrons. So it was a special moment. It was interesting watching the stream after the fact, as when we started singing it, not everybody was sure what we were doing, but once we got to the chorus, everybody sprung into action. So
I got a note from the governor requesting that we never do that again, Boat. I thought I'd mention that.
I only listen to Baby Dog. I don't listen to Jim. So Aaron, this week we have a special challenge. If you know the answer to this week's Patreon Song Challenge, please send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will announce you as a winner on next week's episode.
Don't announce it in the room. Here we go.
I'll announce it in the room. Pack Billy, Rob, McDavid, Howard, Price, Jazz Dog, Daniel, James Miller, R. Typer, Bumface, Pooh Hands, Chris Edwards. Etzel, Alarm, Albert Kemp, we like what we like, Mr. Chip. Peter Price, Herman V, Wonderly Chesham, Mark Richardson, David Hearn, Ramo, K. Ramo, K. David Terrace, Jude Carlos, Matthew Mobius, Vanna Magnus, Seth Yates, Alistair Fiend, David Z, George Rosansky, The Amiga Show, Daniel Crabtree, Super Famicking Crazy, Loomis, William Vinter, Scar, Heavy Systems Inc., Buddy Frag, Lord Mark Byland, Olaf Hope, Alien Breeder, Dave Velociraptor, Calbert Boy, Daniel Williams, Luke Hudson, Bomb, The Base Frodo, and El Sol Incisor, Tech Mage, Jurgen Mysticola, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorglub Reflection, Simon Letch, Captain Crispy, Kilobytes and Caffeine, Gary, Heather, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Annie Jones, Lobsterminator, Tim Mid Amiga, Retro, Casper Quinn, RMC, Tim Drew, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letter, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Lara, Moore, Andy Craig, Sean Zobach, Bid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monkshow, The Zombie, Leaf Killand, Alan Kebab, Chokete Level, Lord John Marshall, Matthew Perrone, Creepy Dead Boy, Vicky CTZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan Swargard Mortensen, Edvin, Helen, Christopher Hassel, Rickis Foles, Laura Giroux, Graham Bibke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Taves from the Crib, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THG, Eric Nelson, Darren Colze, Oniel Bingston, Jason Warren's Pixels at Dawn, and Kjol Bjorn Barman.
Beautiful. It worked out perfectly.
Thank you.
Even I knew that one. That's the least offensive thing you've ever done, Boat.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me.
It's still crap, but it was late.
We also want to thank our Twitch subscribers that tune in every Friday night to watch us, unless we're taping on Thursday like we are tonight. We want to thank R Typer, Retro Jerry, Wishbone, Jigglebox, Mitsuyama, Paul Kitching, Edvin Helland, Pixel Regis, Wing Chun Wolf, Amiga Live, Gerardo Toxico, Proxity, Explorer, L. Curtis Boyle.
Oh, hell.
Blue Train, Lamasta, Negsol, Chris Edwards Restoration, Pixels at Dawn Gaming, Jason Warnes, Luminate08, Thurso Bard, Data Ombre, Brother Bill,
I like that.
RetroRewind.ca, Taco Take, Uber Scuba Diver, Holy Guacamole, Real Retro Dude, Blow Jellyfish, Imcron, YOLO Wookie, Spinny 108, had a hard time with that one, Monza Mess, Pajako 6502, Beach Bum 7, Still Adolescing, Amy Steph, Texas Foosballer, Doc Crabs, MTG, Darkwing 602, Oil of Hope, Eeyore 4077, Frodo NL, Steve Burtz, Mash Pie, and Twilight Zoner.
I like Data Ombre. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, Data Ombre is a grad name.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that
a cool
too.
name.
All right, man. It's time to talk about what we're going to play next week.
Fire it up, bud. Here we go. And the winner is Rock and Roll.
Rock and Roll. Oh, boy. This is Rainbow Arts. This is the same company that did Turrican.
Yeah. Boat's a little bit country. I'm a little bit rock and roll.
That's true. Together we are Garth Brooks.
No, we're the Osmonds, Boat. It's the Osmonds.
All right, Aaron. Let's take this thing to the house, shall we?
Yes, under the house.
Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Until then,
adios.
Adios.